Hi, this is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com with another episode of Fast Action Fridays. Today, my special guest is Sky Marcano.
Yep.
Marcano. Man, oh man, I even give myself notes in my notes and I still screw names up. I'm so sorry. Anyway, she is a designer, mom, clothing brand designer, which I think is awesome, a business owner, a writer, a vision book creative leader. And what I think that means is that you already harness a lot of your own creativity in many ways. And that's what you're going to be sharing with us today. And you're calling in from British Columbia?
British Columbia, close to Vancouver. I'm in the Gulf Islands. So
okay,
well, island.
I'm a cat. I like my evenings. I don't do so well at 7:30 in the morning, which is what it is in your neck of the woods. Right here, it's like 10:30, so we're doing good. We've got a good group in the chat room, and you'll all have a chance to share your offers later. Sky, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I've noticed I have quite a few things, but yeah, I've basically been a fashion designer for 13 years. And I recently actually stepped back from that because I had a lot of personal growth going on in the last 12 months. And I started going on, last year I started going on Periscope, and I did over 350 broadcasts on Periscope and grew my following there. And then I kind of woke up to the fact that I wanted a new challenge, and I wanted to start helping creative, multi-passionate people become more focused and excited about their business. And I wanted to help other people with business and branding. And then I also realized that I hadn't put a ton of energy into my creative thinking. And that's why I wrote the book, Become a Creative Thinking Genius, because we can get caught up in the sort of the storm or your career, and we can forget about the basics like creativity. So that's what I'm up to these days.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Now, you've got some fast action tips for us on how we can tap into that and make ourselves into more of a creative thinking genius, right?
That's right. I actually, in the ebook, Become a Creative Thinking Genius, I have about 10 top tips, and I actually write out every, how to do it, how to take action with your creativity. And my tips are, I actually don't have them written down. I have so many tips that I could probably just name a few right now. So I think, a bit of my story is I was raised in an extremely creative household, and it was constantly encouraged in my house. My father was an artist. My grandmother was a very, very talented wildlife artist. And so I was raised to believe that we should always find time to be creative. And of course, that opened up so many different things in my mind. It connected me to my intuition. It connected me to so many other things. Building my first business at age 25, my fashion company, because of creativity, right? And so I linked everything that happened in the last, since I was about 8 years old, to my creative side. And so I've really, really tuned in and realized that a lot of this stuff comes from creative thinking. But I've also realized, with talking with clients and meeting people, I've also realized so many of us are not raised in a creative household, and they may have some kind of shyness, or they may feel held back creatively, or maybe they feel like there isn't a point to it. So in the book, I talk a lot about spending, to start, if you're someone that doesn't feel like being creative, or maybe you have something in your life that makes you feel distracted or stressed out, spend some time, even 10 minutes a day, forcing yourself to be creative, to do something. It could be even making up a recipe and cooking in the kitchen. It doesn't necessarily have to be painting. I happen to paint and design clothing, sure, but creativity comes from so many different sources.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people, like you mentioned, get get it squashed early on, often by well-meaning adults. You know, they're trying to teach you motor skills, and motor skills mean that you color inside the lines. So coloring outside those lines or going off on your own is kind of frowned upon in that moment. And they're not doing it deliberately. You know, most of the time, these are well-meaning adults with their own agenda to help you grow in certain ways. But it does make us feel less creative or less successful as creatives because we're doing it differently from other people, and we don't grow the confidence in ourselves.
Yeah, that's a really awesome point. I think that's so, so true. But I think in the book, I write out about how, yeah, we may not feel confident, or we may not feel like it's worth putting the time into. But the thing is, you know, I spent hundreds of hours on my clothing company creatively before I made any money. And I realized that when I was writing the book. You know, it wasn't like I was making all this money and I wasn't a successful clothing designer. I didn't even have very much money, but I put tons of hours into it. But later it was revealed that I was supposed to start this really great clothing brand. And later, so even a year later, or so sometimes creative thinking will reveal what it's meant to do in your life or business, wait, like 12 months later. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Also, it's the same for writers, you know, people who think they can't write aren't creative enough to write even nonfiction, which I believe is very creative if done well. Think that people they see do it well, it just always comes out right the first time. And if they can't get it out right the first time, they're not creative enough to make it happen. And the joy and the real secret is to keep doing it, keep practicing, let it develop. It's an art that's developed. We may have different degrees of talent inside us to start with, but they can all be improved.
Yeah, and I think creativity is like a reflection of us as human beings, and human beings are flawed and we aren't perfect. And creativity and ideas, they are messy before they become formed into something tangible and inspirational. You know, things can be messy, and if we can let go of perfection and I'm such a believer in it. It's just let it all go and be okay with the messy. And then all of a sudden things will come together. One of my other tips is bring a notebook with you everywhere. Because yeah, you can have this messy notebook and then all of a sudden you'll be like, wow, that turned into something. Kind of like, you know, as an example, I do a lot of vision book stuff and I write down, you know, what I want to do for the next 3 to 6 months. You know, write an ebook. Well, maybe I don't know what I'm going to write. Maybe I have no idea, and I'm going to just sit with the fact that I want to write an ebook. And then later, as things start to simmer and ideas start to enter the mind, then you write it down, and it's a rough. Everything is sort of a rough draft until it happens.
Absolutely. So you basically recapped your first 3 tips for us. So for those who are just joining now, like Patricia, the first one was spend at least 10 minutes a day just being creative, you know, just letting yourself go. Yep. And 2 was that your daily activity should be something you enjoy working on. It doesn't necessarily need to be art, or for those of us who like to write, whatever. It doesn't have to be tied directly to what you think your business is. And 3 is the one you just explained now, and that's releasing your expectations from your thinking, creative thinking time, right? Go into a little bit more with that one.
Yeah, so one thing can lead to another. So if you're really drawn to gardening or arranging flowers or scrapbooking or whatever, that can lead to another. I hope that makes sense. Like, the basic creative time that you're putting in 10 minutes a day or whatever could lead to a completely different exercise, a completely different idea that you would like to pursue. So you know, for me personally, I paint every day now. And I literally said, no, I'm a fashion designer. I design clothes. I'm going to start this company. I'm going to be this business person. And I completely let go of my creative time. But once I started painting, I mean, the ideas and everything that I wanted to do and pursue was so clear. It was like finding creative clarity through another medium. Does that make sense? So I was painting, but then the ebook came alive in my mind. Kind of like a meditation. It was like, once I started painting every single morning when I got up, or almost every morning with my coffee, then it was like, oh yeah, there's the ebook in my mind. Everything seems clear. So it's kind of like an exercise to get to the next thing, if that makes sense.
And I think it has to do with the energy. I mean, we are part of an energy universe. We are nothing but energy that makes itself visible in different forms. And once we open those channels, it allows all these great creative things to come through.
Yes, whereas life, I've gone through corporate business. I've gone, I've had an independent I've had 2 clothing companies, and I've had 2 children. I've raised 2 children. I have a 15-year-old son and a 22-year-old daughter. And, life can get busy. There's stresses, there's failures, there's success, there's things that can get in the way and cloud you from maybe what you're meant to be doing. I don't know. I'm kind of woo-woo like that.
We like
and then it can get
here.
clouded. Yeah, and it can get busy, right? We get, we all do it.
I mean, I'm looking at my background. I mean, I'm a note taker, and I'm very, I'm a geeky girl, so I like my computer. I like my computerized systems. But when I'm in creative mode, I still go back to paper and pen and, colored pens and mind mapping and figuring things out with colored stickies and colored pens and just moving things around to seeing where it is I want to go. It's kind of like looking at a map with lots of wonderful vacation spots and saying, ooh, I could go here and what could I do there? And suddenly you see that you can hit here and here and here and here and off you are to the races. All right, so that kind of encompasses what you wrote me for number 4 tip, which is think of creative thinking as part of the bigger picture long term, because you never know where it's going to take you, each of these little creative moments. Cindy, Write It For You, mentioned that it's opening yourself to creative energy in general. And she also said that, let me get it here. Songwriters are told to record the entire session because you never know what might come out of it, similar to that always keeping a notebook with your suggestions in it. And I've got manuscripts, bits of manuscripts from, when I started writing back in 1970. And I even get bits of inspiration from my mother's journals from years and years and years ago,
Wow, amazing. Yeah, that is so amazing. Yeah, I think it's all sort of a path that we're on, but if you really want to tune into it, it's kind of like tuning into your intuition. I feel like if you want to amp that up, or maybe you're going through a tough time, because I use creativity a lot if I'm going through a change, a transition, or I want to explore, the creative. I will go there. Because right now I am going through a change, right? I let go of the clothing design career because I want to pursue more of the online e-courses and developing my vision books and ebooks. And it's been a little bit scary for me. So the creative outlet has just saved so much of that. It's made everything so much more relaxing, and everything seems so fine. It's all fine.
Exactly.
It's good.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the creative side, because people who know me know that I believe in using your intuition in practical ways every single day, and allowing yourself just to be in a creative moment allows a lot of intuition to come in. I love what Tricia said. She's just, because I tweet, she says she feels the same. I feel completely broken when I have no creative outlet for myself. And that brings up another point that I think matches what you're saying, Sky, is that when we all need some creative time in our lives that isn't necessarily tied directly to an income generating activity. For me, that is being involved in the community theater and either being on stage in a role or being backstage as, you know, stage manager or assistant director, or putting on somebody's makeup, or even in the front of the house, you know, seating people as an usher. I just need something that's not, has no tie to me personally earning money from it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And there's a big wave of that right now. People are talking about that a lot, including me. But it's so true. And I so agree with it. I feel like, and I really realized that this year too, is that, you know, when we put that pressure on ourselves to, you know, have to monetize the creative, then we aren't creating our best stuff either, right? Because it stops us from because we're like, oh, well, how would I monetize that? Well, maybe we aren't meant to monetize every single thing, right? So we can create some really, basically I'm saying we can create really beautiful things if we let go of all that, like we were speaking about 5 minutes ago.
Somebody just walked in the door here for a minute. Needs to leave me a note. So if you have questions for Sky, pop them into the chat roll. It's best to, so we make sure and see them, is to put a /Q, then a space, and then your question, and then it'll show up with a nice little blue circle.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, everybody that tweeted this out and shared. And I see all the comments. If there was a question and I missed it, or
I don't think we had other questions. We had some other great comments. Write it for you, Cindy, who is, I know, a very creative person. She does sign language, and she's had a blog talk radio show, either the host of it for quite a while now, and before that, helping with the production side and all kinds of things. She's a great singer. She said, I have a friend who wrote the song Paint the Sky Green, and I love that thought. Creativity comes from doing things outside of the box. If you stay in the box, nothing new is developed. And I like to add something to that. It's not only going outside the box. Sometimes it's just a matter of creating a bigger box for yourself to play in. You know, sometimes we like the box we're in.
Yeah. Or quite often you can think, well, I don't feel like writing today, or I don't feel like painting, or nothing is coming to mind. But sometimes if we just touch the paintbrush to the paper, something will appear.
Yeah, there's just something magical when the brain cells that we, especially the unconscious one, we give them a route out of our bodies through our hands by holding paper to pen, or paintbrush to paper or canvas, or voice to a microphone, or just to the air in general, and letting it go. People that I love like it when I don't sing out loud, but that doesn't mean I don't sing.
Yeah, right. I know. I love singing, and I definitely can't sing.
All right. So I think we've got a question coming in. We do have an open seat if somebody'd like to pop in real quick and ask that. Oh, well, here's the question. I hope I can say this fast enough. I found when I've focused on getting more clients or more business is when I'd start feeling this heaviness and this locked feeling. And I discovered that when I'm not carving out time to just be, whether creative or in meditation, I can't do anything else that leads to success. I'd love for you to expand on that. I think that's a great point. So what advice would you give her, or what are some of your experiences? Does that resonate with you, Sky?
The first thing that comes to mind for me with that is I went through a similar thing last year when I was on Periscope, and I was doing really well, and it was a creative outlet because I was coming up with content every day. But I was feeling there was something missing, absolutely. And it was the creative side of writing and painting. And I was happy, but yeah, I'm all about like analyzing self-reflection and analyzing. And I love that comment or the question or this subject has been brought up because yeah, I think when we're not in alignment and we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing with maybe even our spare time, yeah, we can definitely block out success. And all success and all money and all that stuff isn't always the best avenue. Like with my clothing, I did that for 13 years and I was making money and doing well, but if you can usually tell if you don't feel
right
centered.
If you're blocked, it's usually some type of hidden block that's there. And if you, a lot the people I work with, several of my clients I've had over the years and several others I've talked with are blocked because of something that they learned as a child or in young adulthood that told them that they needed to do X to be successful. And if they didn't do it this way, it wasn't going to materialize in an income generating way. And you have to allow yourself to breathe within even a business moment. I know if I'm struggling trying to help a client with their website design or with their book, getting their book out or finished or promoted or whatever, I can get the logical side of me, because I've been doing this since the early 1970s. There's a lot of information and experience crammed into this little head, or my husband would probably call it a big head. But the point is, I can let the logical side of me throw me in a rut that I feel like Patricia explained, like I'm suffocating, like I'm confined, like I'm in a straitjacket, and I have to start breathing. I have to do something different. I have to go out and meditate or take a walk or go, dig in the garden or run through the grass naked or barefoot once in a while, just to release it. And then I come back and it's like, oh my gosh, there's my answer. Why couldn't I see it before? Yeah, I have done that a couple of times. Yeah. Not lately. I live in town now, but I lived out in the country for a long time. And you could do those things. So great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as women too, right? We sometimes have a harder time saying no, or we are so used to nurturing and pleasing people that we can get bogged down with that as well. And then we lose that clarity on, the path we want to take too. So yeah, I think we have to be careful as business owners to really be honest. Yeah. And say out loud, I think, sorry, your name, just because
that's Patricia. I know that's Patricia there.
Yeah. Yeah, Patricia. Hi, Patricia. Yeah, thank you. I think as women, we often don't say out loud that the juggling is tough and we need to take breaks that better us. Yes. Sometimes we have to say no in order to receive other things too, and weed out that stuff that might be bogging us down and holding us back from all the other things that we want to do. And I've found that in my career a few times where I woke up and thought, whoa, yeah, I'm just creating this busyness and this noise, and I'm not letting the other good stuff in. So yeah, it is a juggling act.
It's just not a female thing. I think it's a feminine energy thing. I mean, I'm married to a very masculine guy, but he's got a great intuitive and feminine side too. He can be wonderfully creative in the kitchen. He's a professional chef. When he's on a roll, he can do marvelous things, but he can trap himself into that logic mode of what's supposed to be, or not letting his own creativity because he likes to please other people. Me, especially these days. So it's like, what do you want for dinner? Should I do it this way or that way? And I'll be in business mode and say, whatever you put in front of me today, I will, because I'm too busy to fix my own food. And he doesn't like that. He wants me to make that decision, you know? And it's like, I don't care. You're a professional chef. Go make me something, you know, use your creativity.
Yeah, I relate to that. I'm a lot like that too.
All right.
Like, come on, I just have to, let's just eat.
All right. While I do, because you said you didn't have them written down, so I will do the, I'll run through the 5 tips that you gave us. While I'm doing that, if you're here live in the chat room, go ahead and put a link to your own freebie, or if you've got a book on Amazon, I'll post Sky's book on Amazon again. Your website, if you'd like, a reference that you like, a quote, whatever you'd like to put in there. I'm in trust mode that you will post something that's appropriate for the audience here, and nobody's really taken advantage of that yet. So here are Sky's 5 fast action tips for, let's call it feeding the creative genius in us. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So 1 is spend at least 10 minutes a day just being creative, just for the hell of it, right? 2, your daily creative activity. Your creative, boy, oh boy, good thing I'm not on stage today. Your daily creative activities should be something you enjoy working on. This should not be something that feels like work, right? Okay. 3 was, and this is so, I think this is the real key, is release the expectations from your creative thinking time. Just go with it. It's like brainstorming at its best, you know? Okay. 4 is think of creative thinking as part of the bigger picture, long-term, because a lot of times that creative thought, that creative moment will be the germ or the seed that blossoms into something really great later on. And 5, write all inspirational thoughts down. Bring a notebook with you everywhere. Okay. I want to know, of everybody in the chat room right now, how many always have a notebook and pen or pencil with you? Of course. Can answer for Dennis. He just had that was the note from him. My hubby wanted to make sure I knew he was leaving the house temporarily. That's the kind of guy he is. I know Cindy does. Pat uses her phone to type. And for those of us that are comfortable with digital, I know people that feel a better connection with their fingers typing on their phone or digital device. And if that works for you, go for it. My suggestion is use pencil and paper, or ink and paper, or paintbrush and canvas or paper. If you are having trouble, if you want to do digital, but you're still struggling, switch back to paper and pencil for a while to get that little element out of the way. Pat also says she likes to use Canva and Typorama apps to create social posts the minute I get inspired, so they are done while in the moment. You've got something to add to that, don't you, Sakai?
Well, I use a lot of tech too. I use Evernote and my notepad on my phone, and I'm the same. In the second that it enters, I write it down. I did it the other night. We were going out for dinner in the car, and my husband was like, "What are you doing on your phone?" And I was like, "Well, I'll write it down that second, because sometimes those are the best." So
exactly. I can't reach it right now, but one of my big projects is in that box there, because all day long I get another tip or something I want to do. And because I may be in different parts of the house or other areas, you need a place to capture all of that. So I have a couple boxes. And so, when I sit down to start putting things together and to see how it all works together, it's together. A real hamper is to do notes everywhere and not be able to find them. So I like to be creatively organized. So I stay with what is normal for me, which is notes everywhere, but creatively organized means that I can find them, I can get to them, I can put them to use and build a bigger project from that when it comes. I'm going to let Pat in for a few minutes. We're right on the 11 o'clock hour here. So we'll keep this. And while she's getting in here, Cindy said she has a computer with her almost all the time because I lose paper or can't read my own notes. That happens sometimes in the middle of the night because I've learned to write in the dark.
That's awesome.
Pat, what else did you want to share today?
Hi, nice to meet you, Sky. I very much appreciate your reminder to live in ease and to relax about all of this. Because isn't it funny how you think when you put the pressure and say, I have to, ... whatever that is, it takes on a whole different flavor. So, for example, my daughter's working on repainting shelves. It's funny, paint seems to be a big thing this week. It keeps coming up for us. It's the third day in a row that paint is coming up. I'm just...
somebody needs to start painting.
There is definitely something going on, which is why I raised my hand to chime in. But trying to color inside the lines may work for some people, but I got the funny feeling that us, as you say, woo-woo people, tend to almost need a palette and a canvas that's our own. So whether it's painting in the physical sense or painting the picture in your ideas and your words, I think it's all about letting it flow and stop trying to force it into a little perfect box. So I've been doing a lot of like email crafting. It's not one of my favorite things to do, but it's got to be authentic, right? So as much as you say you want help, you've got to sometimes still get it done. So just let it flow. I try to just, like you said, be a little bit more relaxed about it and do a brain dump and then let someone else worry about making it all structured and pretty, because otherwise you get so slow.
Oh, that's so great.
I do it, right? You get slow. If I'm so busy worrying about the format and the structure, then I get stuck there instead of paying attention to what my heart or my gut are telling me I'm told to share with my peeps.
Exactly.
Yeah, that brings up the whole concept also. I think I have it in one of the 10 tips in the ebook about how productive you can actually be by what you just said, being creative, and then all of a sudden you've got all these amazing things and it becomes easier to be productive is kind of what I'm hearing from you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, even when I was a journalist and working full time for the newspaper, I had to write every single day. You know, there were things, I couldn't wait for inspiration like you can do at home. And if you're trying to build a writing career, you're going to starve if you wait for inspiration. If you're trying to build a career as a painter or an artist or a musician, if all you do is wait for inspiration, you can be waiting a long time. You need to open the floodgates and start doing something. Take some fast action that opens things up, and allow the inspiration in rather than waiting for it to find you. Let it come into you.
I think there's a funny meme out there. It's about, I kind of relate it to meditation too, like sit there and be, sit there and create, sit there and write, it's like, then all of a sudden there it is, right?
All right, Barb, we're right at the tail end. I hope you watched the replay because we covered some great things. Sky went through some awesome 5 tips to really help us fertilize. I'm coming up with a whole bunch of different ways to describe fertilize the creative genius in ourselves. Sky, tell people a little bit more about your book that is available on Amazon. And if you check the chat roll, I can also put that in one more time for you. Tell us about the book, the name, and what they're going to find in it.
The name of the ebook, and it's a short read, so it's about 3,500 words. It's called Become a Creative Thinking Genius, and it gives you 10 tips that you can actually take action with in your life and business. And that's on Amazon, and I think you've put the link in there. But if you happen to be you can't see the link right now and you're watching the replay, you can go to Amazon and go to the Kindle store and just type in Sky Marcano and it will come up. It's a really pretty pink cover. And the price is down to 99 cents because I want people to have it. So for right now, it's 99 cents. It might go up a little bit, and it goes right on to your Kindle.
Which is awesome. All right. Say goodbye, everyone. This is Kat Sturtz from...
Nice meeting everybody. Thank you so much for having me, too.
Thank you for getting up so early in your neck of the woods today. This is from rockingyourpath.com, closing another episode of Fast Action Fridays and reminding you to keep rocking your unique path to success. See you next week.